cold against your skin, running through the chaos, letting all the sin, temptation in a bottle, ready for the night, craving for the thrill, it's time to ignite. Dark desires burning bright, echoes in the dead of night. No retreat, no looking back on this heart attack.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Good to be back. Good to be here on a weekend for once. I feel like I haven't been here for, I don't know, for a long time. Feels like for a long time we haven't done a weekend show. I worked through the night. I read through all the Hannah McGuire court documents, was able to get a better understanding of what actually happened in the court case because, as you may know, Ping is about a week behind. But I was able to get that done overnight. Here's that nice photo. It's Anita Lester. Again, we know Anita. Anita did our sketch for us when we were at the Aaron Patterson trial. She did the sketch of Aaron for us here at Nights with Ping. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Ping. I do court cases out of the Supreme Court in Victoria, Australia. The only YouTuber who, I don't know, bothers to go into the Supreme Court and actually follow these cases and get the documents that isn't a main media, from a, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a news station or something like that. And what we do here is I don't just give you the quotes, I'll give you most of everything I can in the time that we have. If we've got a couple of hours, I'll read you through everything I can in a couple of hours instead of just giving you that, the sensationalist little quote from the trial, which they tend to do. I'm not disparaging them. It's just that's what they tend to focus on. We don't really do that here. I'll bring you everything I can. So tonight, I'm gonna start with, in a minute. I'll let everyone get in and sort of calm down. But I want to read you through the opening statement for this trial because I think it explains a lot of what people want to hear and what they want to know about. And I think that's a good way of sort of starting all this and getting into it. So we're going to do that. Hey, good to see you. Hey, Sienna. Hey, John. Good to see you. Gayla's here. Aaron's here. Hey, Aaron. What's up, buddy? Mimi's here. Hey, Lisa. Good to see you. Danny's here as well. Yeah, so she's ready to be discharged again from the hospital. So in the next couple of days, she should be free from the hospital again. When is that going to happen? I don't know. It was supposed to be today, and then they delayed it again. So it's going to be tomorrow or Monday or something like that. But she's ready to go home. So she'll get, we'll do it again. Take 2 of her being discharged from hospital. So we'll see. Gayla says, how was the show last night? Show was really good. If you don't know what she's talking about, I went and saw Nikki Glazer. Sorry, that came out really bad. I went and saw Nikki Glazer last night in Melbourne, and it was a really great night. It was that they had an Aussie Open, and then they had an American Open before Nikki too, and it was very well done. The American guy was freaking hilarious. The Aussie was good too. He did like musical comedy, so he'd like sing these songs, and then they were very funny. And then the American guy had a lot of good stuff too. Guys, why does my cat do this? Hold on. Just before Nikki came out, Andy Lee. So if you know Hamish and Andy, Andy Lee introduced Nikki Glazer. So that was really cool. I've never seen Andy Lee in real life before. So I'm a huge Hamish and Andy fan. So to see him was a bonus. And then Nikki came out and she opened with an Aaron Patterson joke, and it was like life imitating art, imitating art. It was so surreal because I'm sitting there in the crowd, and I'm like, wait, I just spent 3 months of that trial, and to hear her joking about it on a stage in Melbourne was pretty good. We're having audio problems again. There should be no audio problems. No, there should be no audio problems. The microphone says it is working good. Default. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if that I've changed it slightly, but on my end it's showing it's working good. Mimi says they need to release Mrs. Ping. Poor her. Yeah. Yeah, she's been in hospital for 8 weeks. 8 weeks so far, 2 months. It was glitching for a minute. Maybe we got too many things open. I'm gonna have to look into why it's doing this because we've got so much RAM. It's like it's not even funny. We've got literally gigabytes and gigabytes of like RAM that isn't in use. Actually, let's have a look at something. Maybe I just got too many tabs open. I do like a tab. I do like to have like 50 million tabs open. Hold on, let me go here. Let me get out of this. All right, let me check my resources. Just see what's going on while we're streaming. Uh, yeah, let me check my Wi-Fi. Receive, send. Interesting. It's not maxing out anything, so I don't know why it does that. It must be something to do with StreamYard and the browser and something like I don't know. But that's okay. Yeah, so Nikki Glazer was good. It was packed. Yeah, sold out show. Except for I had an empty seat next to me because Mrs. Ping didn't come, so I had an empty seat next to me. And then two people next to me on the other side, they just didn't show up. So I had quite a lot of room in a show that was sold out. I had like quite a lot of breathing room, and I didn't have someone pressuring on either side of me all night, which was nice. And yeah, it was nice. It was a nice night to get away from producing my own content and get to go and have a night of fun and laugh for 2 hours. Nikki Glazer had that entire auditorium in absolute stitches for 2 hours. There was like no break in her jokes. Like they were just like there was people throwing stuff, and it was like that kind of like that laughter where you can't control it and you start having spasms. Like people were like slapping things and like throwing stuff. I went to Chris Rock 2 years ago, and his comedy is slightly different. Nikki Glazer is very edgy, very like sexual, and very she pushes the topics like in very like very very she just pushes them really, really far. Chris Rock does more like socio political commentary within jokes and things like that. But Nikki Glazer just goes full on. Anyway, one of the jokes near the end, she was talking about how her sister has a young child, a boy, and apparently the little boy likes to shower with mum. And so when Nikki was there, Nikki wanted to have a shower, and the little boy wanted to come with her. And she was telling her sister, like, what if I was gonna what if I was gonna f him? And everyone went what? And the whole thing, just everyone went what? And she's like, well, you don't know. That's how it happens, you know. It's always the closest person to the victim, and everyone just was like, wow, did she really say that? But it was so funny. She ended up rounding it up with like how male babysitters are the perfect people to commit crimes against children. Look, it was a very serious topic, but she pulls it off in such a way that it is not offensive. It's sort of funny, but um, because it's true. Like the things she's talking about are real life things that happen. But yeah, that got a gasp from the audience when she was talking about that particular joke about her nephew. Anyway, Good night. A lot of fun. If you're going to the show, I think it's tonight in Sydney. I hope you have a lot of fun. It was a great show. Really my type of humor. I like that type of very, very edgy, very sexualized humor. You would have heard some of my jokes on this show before, and so you know where I get my influence from. Gayla says dark humor is very. Some of it was very dark, but probably the best live set I've seen from her. She did one last year called "Everyone's Gonna Someday I'll Die," and I didn't really think that was a very good show. I thought that particular show was a bit. I didn't really like the direction she had gone in. This one was going back to her, like, original material, like, the stuff that she was got famous for, and I was like, "It's perfect. So well done." 2 hours flew by. So, yeah, it was a nice night. It was nice to get out. Would have been better if Mrs. Ping was there, but, it just we tried everything. We asked the hospital. We were like, "Hey, what if we put her in a cab and take her straight to the Melbourne Exhibition Centre and then take her straight back to the hospital?" And they're like, no. They're like, there's too many people. Um, there's a lot of people that are ill because it's winter in Melbourne and Australia. They're like, there's too many people with colds and the flu and bacteria and germs. And they were just like, it's not a good idea. So they nothing we tried everything, which is it's stupid because they tried to release her this morning. And I was like, what's the difference between this morning when she's out of the hospital, I can take her wherever I want to. What's the difference between this morning and last night? And they're just like they told me even if it was the show was tonight and she got released this morning, they would still give the advice that it was bad for her to go because it just like her immune system is so low. Um, she could get very sick. Like if she got the flu, it could make her very, very ill. So you would have come. I didn't even think to invite anyone else, and I'm not saying it to be rude. I just didn't even think to it. I just was like, I'll go. I bought insurance on the tickets, so I will just claim the money back for Mrs. Ping's. Not that wouldn't want anyone to go. I didn't even think about it. I was too busy trying to think of how to get her to go. Rachel said, find some tickets when Mrs. Ping is feeling better. Well, that's the thing. Nikki Glazer has never been here before. She's been to Australia, but she's never done a show. Last night was the first one she's ever done in Australia. I mean, I've been waiting like 10 years for her to come here. So it was a big deal for me because I'm the fan of hers. Not Mrs. Ping likes her too, but I'm the big fan. And I've been waiting like 10 years and she's never been here before. Hopefully she comes back because it was a sold out show. Everyone had a great time and she actually ran over. She actually went so long that the producer in her ear was like, you have to finish the show." And she's like, "All right, bye Melbourne, I'm going." So she didn't get to finish it on like a one joke type of tying it all up because she had sort of gone over her allotted time slot. So, but yeah, if you're going tonight in Sydney, I hope you go and have a great time. You hope there is never a next time? Well, okay. I hope Nikki Glazer does come back. Gayla said you got tickets about a year ago, I'm sure. I got my tickets in I bought them when they went on when as soon as they went on sale. I got a code that allowed me to get the promoter sale, and I think I bought them on the first day. I think it was October last year. Hold on. See, my cats like to play up when I do a live show. When I'm not on the live show, they just go to sleep and do nothing. But as soon as I'm on here, they they want to play up. All right. Yeah. So great night. Had a lot of fun. It was nice to have a night off. from true crime for one night. Jay said this Queenslander does envy the Melbourne Comedy Festival. I've never been to the Melbourne Comedy Festival, but I should. Sienna said, I'm glad you got to go. You really needed a mental break. There'll be another time. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You think you can hear him in the background? Well, they're being naughty. They're running around. So you might have been able to. Oh, she got fluff in my eye when I picked her up. She was trying to climb over my shoulder. She's a very naughty, big, fluffy raccoon. All right. This on your screen right here, you know who this is. This is Lachlan Young. Lachlan Young. And this was done by Anita Lester, who did our sketch of Erin Patterson. So you can tell she has a very similar style for court sketching. And I'm going to run you through the opening statement. Great. Did I just close that when we did that thing before? Good work, Ping. Good work. That's all right. We can get it back. All right. Let me get down into my notes and I'm going to run you through the opening statement for this trial. That it sort of crossed paths with Erin Patterson. Erin Patterson got a verdict, and I think this one opened that Monday. So the day that we were all waiting for, the day that we were all waiting for Erin's verdict, this particular trial opened. Hold on, I'm trying to get hair out of my eye from the fluffy raccoon. Hold on. All right. Hopefully that'll do. Yes, this one sort of opened on the same day. All right, let me get down. Is it here? All right. So in the Crown's opening address, they talk to the jury, and he says here. By the way, let me get you the real names. Sorry, I'm not familiar with this court. I know who the judge is, but I don't know who the prosecutor. Actually, I'm just going to say the Crown. I'll figure it out later, and I'll tell you. But it's the Crown. They are prosecuting Lachlan Young, and this is how they started their opening statement. If I can get back to it, yeah, here. He says to the court, "We will seek to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused is guilty of murder, and to do that, we will call evidence in this courtroom, evidence you'll soon hear." But he says, "My task at this juncture is to simply outline what I expect that the evidence will be." So, like Erin Patterson, they told you that opening statements are not evidence. They're just outlining how they expect the evidence will sort of fall during the trial. It's not evidence as such, it's just outlining to the jury what they think will happen. You know, you never quite know. They say here, his task at the juncture is to simply outline to you what I expect that the evidence will be. And he says he will turn to that now. I want to give you a snapshot of the case before I do that. The Crown case is this. Hannah McGuire was in a controlling and turbulent relationship with the accused, Lachlan Young, before he murdered her at the home they once shared in the early hours of the 5th of April, 2024. Then, having killed her, and in an attempt, we say, to cover up his murder, he put her in the rear footwell of her Mitsubishi Triton, drove it out to a remote forest location, and set it on fire, igniting it, the car, and Miss McGuire's body in flames. Now, following the destruction of the car and her body, we say that the accused tried to further cover up his involvement in her murder by staging her death to look like a suicide and systematically deleting evidence of his involvement. Now, the Crown will allege that the breakdown of the relationship between Lachlan and Hannah and subsequent financial concerns, coupled with the accused's inability to accept that the relationship was over, provide both the catalyst and the motive for murder. We will call evidence that will demonstrate that the accused formulated a plan to harm Hannah McGuire from the 2nd of April 2024. We will call evidence that an intervention order was served on the accused on the 3rd of April 2024, and from that point we say that the accused realizes his relationship was over, that he would lose the house, and therefore planned a really serious injury or death of Miss McGuire. They say now Hannah was 23 years old at the time of her death. She was an educational support officer at a primary school. She was studying to be a teacher and grew up in Clunes. At the time of her death, she lived with her parents, Debbie and Glenn, and they said you will hear from them in evidence in this trial. Her parents own and operate the National Hotel in Clunes. They say at the time of her death, she drove an orange Mitsubishi Triton and had an Apple iPhone connected to the Telstra network with a number ending in 428. They say now Hannah met Lachlan at the end of 2021. He was an apprentice carpenter employed by a local builder. He drove a white Mazda. He had some other cars, and he had an iPhone connected to the Optus network with a phone number ending in 955. The relationship with Hannah and Lachlan was problematic, and they say they will assert that it was controlling and turbulent, and you will hear evidence from Hannah McGuire's friends and family about what they witnessed of that relationship between the two. They continue and say, I expect you'll hear evidence about the way he treated her, the way he spoke to her. You will also hear evidence that the relationship broke down in February of 2023 and that the accused's behavior led to the making of a police complaint and intervention order being imposed upon him. In the lead up to February 2023, the accused and deceased had been discussing the purchase of a property. That property on King Drive, so it's on King Drive, the deceased was hesitant about purchasing that property, and on the 16th of February 2023, she told the accused that she did not want to go ahead with the purchase. That angered him. He told her to leave the house, and at the time they were living with his parents, Hannah packed up her stuff, went to her car to leave, and she saw the accused repeatedly kicking her vehicle, causing damage to the driver's side door. At the time, she was driving a red Mazda, not the orange Mitsubishi. She left the property in her vehicle, and the accused called her to return to the property so he could fix the damage he had just caused. Hannah called her mother Debbie, telling her what had happened, and they attended the Ballarat police station to report it. Hannah ultimately makes what's called a statement of no complaint, effectively telling the police that she doesn't want to go ahead with anything. She wants to keep the peace. Police file for an intervention order on behalf of Hannah, and she stays with her parents that evening, then goes to work the next day. Between 5:53 p.m. on the 16th of February 2023 and 5:07 on the 17th of February 2023, the accused calls her 129 times, and over Snapchat, he's expressing frustration about losing his relationship with Hannah. On the 17th of February, Hannah goes to work and alerts her colleagues to what had occurred the night before. And as she left work, the accused drove past, performs a U turn, and then pursues her in her vehicle, in his own, for about 15 minutes. She becomes scared. She calls her mother Debbie, who puts the phone on speakerphone, and she's with her husband Glenn, Hannah's father, and you will hear evidence that Hannah was yelling and screaming that the accused was trying to run her off the road. Her mother was in Melbourne at the time and advised her to call 000. But the accused managed to block her vehicle in, get out of the car, approach her. Hannah locks her doors and he starts banging on the windows, demanding that she speak with him. She can't even move his car because he's blocking traffic, and uh, he goes to do that, move the car because he's blocking traffic. She drives away and manages to get away. She drives off, calls a friend. Her and her friend attend the Ballarat police station to report the incident. Later that evening, Lachlan Young will send Hannah an email begging her not to walk away and professing his love for her. About 20 minutes later, after Hannah's been to the police station, Lachlan is contacted by police. asking if he can attend to have a safety notice issued. That evening, Hannah goes to her friend's house that came and collected her, a lady called Kayla, and they say you'll hear from Kayla during the trial. She goes to her house, and when they're there at the nighttime, the accused shows up, starts doing burnouts on the front lawn of the address. On the 25th of February, still in 2023, Hannah is with that friend at Werribee Gorge, and Kayla notices that she's communicating with Lachlan. She tells her friend that she's just trying to keep things civil. On the 28th of February, still in 2023, a final intervention order is made prohibiting family violence but allowing contact between the two, and the couple get back together shortly after. By 16th of March 2023, despite her reservations, Hannah goes ahead with the purchase of the property with the accused at King Drive. The house is about 70 meters from the accused family home where his parents live. Come 2024, the relationship deteriorates, and there is a series of events in early 2024 that really culminate in the relationship breaking down in March of 2024. In February 2024, the accused learns that Hannah has her own personal savings bank account in addition to their joint accounts. He responds to learning that by removing her from their joint bank accounts, and in a text message or message exchange, the accused becomes aggressive and says to Hannah McGuire, "Stop ducking," presumably meaning fucking. And he says, so the full sentence is, "Stop fucking annoying me and pestering me, then cunt. How many times have you fucking been told, huh?" Sorry about the language. That's actually what it says in the document. The deceased subsequently agrees to put her money into the joint house account. We come to the 2nd of March, and Hannah and the accused at a local hotel called the Cattle Yards Inn. They're on a night out when they fall into an argument. The accused was seen grabbing Miss McGuire by the arm, talking in her face as she cried. She phones a friend by the name of Abby, to come and collect her because the accused is treating her poorly, yelling at her, and making derogatory comments about her in front of his friends. Abby comes and collects her, drives her home, and they say now we come to the middle of March, the 15th to the 19th. On the 15th of March, the accused goes to a music festival and he was drinking. His drinking was a source of conflict in the relationship. On the 17th of March, Hannah rings her mother while she's at home and tells her mother about a plan that she has to leave the accused. She says that evening she will stay at the home that she shares with the accused, but when she goes to work the next morning, she'll make a bag and she won't return. So her mother asks her if she has packed a bag, and Hannah tells her that she has. She's got an overnight bag with her birth certificate, passport, and some items. The next day, Hannah goes to work, realizes that the accused has taken the keys from her bag. She parks her car out of sight at the schoolyard, telling people that she didn't want to get it damaged like last time. Her work colleague, called Danielle, asks Hannah if she feels safe. Hannah tells her that she doesn't know. Hannah tells her that she's going to speak to police about what to do. Another colleague called Taylor notices that Hannah started coming to work a bit earlier and would park her car in the shed so that it was hidden. Hannah told her that she was scared of the accused and that he had taken her keys. During that day, she speaks with her mother, who advises her to take her share of the money out of the joint accounts and to pay any bills that are in her name. Hannah did that and made 3 transfers of money from the joint account to her personal account. Meanwhile, the accused makes his own transfers from the account with the reference being "house is gone," and from this point, Hannah moves out of the home that she had shared with the accused and moves back in with her parents. On the 19th of March, the accused phone records will show that he Googled how to remove someone from Eufy cameras, how to find out if other devices are still connected. So these cameras are like security cameras that you can buy for your home. It's just that Eufy is a brand. That's all it is. Sort of like Ring. sort of like Ring doorbells and Ring security, same sort of thing. The Crown says you'll hear some evidence that there was some security cameras installed at the property. You'll hear some evidence that those cameras were operated by the accused and that the deceased formerly had access to viewing the cameras but not operating them. The accused was away, so the deceased used this opportunity to collect her stuff from the property. She attended with her parents and had trouble accessing the property because she no longer had keys, so she had to crawl through a window. And once inside, Hannah and her father noted that a couch had been pushed up against the door to barricade it shut. That afternoon, Hannah met with Terry, the Commonwealth Bank manager. She made changes to their joint bank accounts, which triggered automatic notifications to the accused via email. On March 20, the deceased sought advice of a solicitor to help her with her settlement. She also spoke to Danielle, the lady at the school, stating that the accused was being aggressive and threatening to come to the school. The school then took extra steps to ensure Hannah's safety by locking the external doors to the school. On the 21st of March, Hannah attends the Ballarat Magistrates Court seeking an intervention order as the other one had expired. An interim order was granted, allowing contact, but again prohibiting family violence. Following the order being made, the accused and deceased continued to exchange messages. The next day, on the 22nd of March, the deceased agrees to see the accused at the property they once shared. But she told him she didn't want anyone to see her car, particularly his parents, so she drove it in the rear of the property. On the 23rd of March, she sends him an email confirming that the relationship is over, requesting that he give her some space. And later that same day, she has a chance encounter with an old school friend, a lady by the name of Bianca, and she told Bianca that she was sorting out her issues with the accused through a solicitor and she was glad to be out of the relationship. Moving to the 27th of March, there's further communication between the two. Throughout the afternoon, they conversed over the phone, and Abby overheard conversations between the two and overheard the accused demanding that she return to the home to sort everything out or that he would come to the school so they could sort it out. The deceased ends up attending the property that evening. On the 28th of March, Hannah again meets with her solicitor to make plans for the future, including removing the accused from her will. Later that evening, she sends him a list of property that she wants recovered from the house they once had together. Messages are exchanged again that evening, and Debbie, her mother, agrees to drive her daughter to the property to sort out some of the property disputes. One of the property disputes related to a canopy that was attached to the Mitsubishi Triton that the accused had installed and wanted back. When they arrived at the house, they discovered that the accused had friends over, he'd been drinking, and an argument erupted. The evidence will demonstrate that he was intent on removing that canopy he had attached to Hannah's car, and he got out an angle grinder and removed it. Friends of Lachlan's who were there noted Hannah to be visibly upset and to be crying. The canopy was removed, and Hannah and Debbie start to drive away. As they did, the accused punches the door of the vehicle. They go around the corner and call 000. The accused leaves with his friends, and as he's driving off, he throws a can at the vehicle, yelling, "Fuck you, fucking dog." On the 29th of March, Lachlan Young calls Hannah between 12 a.m. and 5:50 p.m. ish. They exchange some Snapchat messages, and the accused apologizes for his behavior. They remain in contact over the next few days. Then we come to the 2nd of April 2024. Both Lachlan and Hannah are at work during the day. Again, they exchange some messages between the two. The accused man worked with another man called Benjamin O'Keefe, and you will see and hear from Mr. O'Keefe throughout the course of the trial, and he will be an important witness. He will tell you that on the 2nd of April in the morning, he spoke with the accused, who was asked to have a chat. Mr. O'Keefe had been off work with an injury, so they spoke and arranged to have a chat. At around 4 p.m. that day, the accused attended Mr. O'Keefe's home and spoke with him in the driveway. They lived around the corner from each other. The accused told Mr. O'Keefe he had a plan. He wanted to roofie Hannah, meaning to give her Rohypnol, drive her out somewhere, put her behind the wheel of the car, make the vehicle crash while she wasn't conscious. But he wanted to scare Hannah so that she didn't take the house and his property. He asked Mr. O'Keefe to help, and Mr. O'Keefe agreed. A plan was formed between the two men to meet at the corner between their properties and for Mr. O'Keefe to follow the accused in the vehicle and to bring him back. The conversation ended when Mr. O'Keefe went back into the house. He told his partner some of the plan between the two, and she called him a fucking idiot. Good work to the girlfriend. About an hour or so later, Mr. O'Keefe thought the better of it and sent a text telling the accused he wouldn't be around to help him after all, and the accused responded, "Fuck, rightio," and the deceased, Hannah, stayed with the accused at the house at King Drive that evening. They say now they'll come to the 3rd of April. And again, Lachlan Young and Hannah are communicating throughout the course of the day. At 3:13 p.m., the accused receives an email from Ballarat Magistrates Court containing the family violence intervention order made on the 21st of March. The accused sends Mr. O'Keefe a message saying simply, "Oi." Mr. O'Keefe didn't want to alert the accused to having received that, so he doesn't open it, he just views it on his phone. At 7:10 p.m., Lachlan Young forwards the email from the court to Hannah, and later that evening, he's talking to his boss's wife where he says, "Fuck women. They just want to hurt you and milk you dry and still have the decency to say it's all your fault." The deceased stayed with her parents that evening. On the 4th of April, both Lachlan Young and Hannah McGuire are at work. Hannah arrives to work in her Mitsubishi Triton. Mr. O'Keefe responds to the accused message from the night before, the message that simply read, "Oi." When he does that, the accused asks for help with his plan that evening, and the two agree to meet again at midnight. The deceased and the accused remain in contact throughout the day. After work, Hannah goes to Clunes. She trains with her football and netball club, and then she goes to her parents' hotel with a group of friends for some dinner. She and the accused remain in contact, and throughout the evening, they're making plans for that evening to meet up, including whether they're going to sleep in the same room. The accused, meanwhile, locally, he goes out with some of his friends to a local drinking hole whilst he awaits for the deceased's arrival from where she's at. Hannah travels from Clunes to Ballarat, and at 9:25 p.m. whilst on her way, she captures an image for her Be Real social media account, and you'll hear all about that later in the trial. She arrives at the property at 9:47 p.m. She parks at the rear of the house using the side gate. They had been keeping their interactions discreet because her parents continued to disapprove of the union. You'll hear more about that later. Now at 11:28 p.m. that night, the accused messages on the 4th of April. He messages Mr. O'Keefe because they were due to meet at 12 and says, "Sorry, had a bit on." At 1:35 p.m., now on the 5th of April, Mr. O'Keefe responds asking about what they're going to do with this car. No reply, so he goes back to sleep. At some point, the Crown alleges between 1:50 a.m. and 2:53 a.m. on the 5th of April 2024, the accused kills Hannah McGuire with murderous intent. Hannah went into the property at King Drive at 9:47 p.m. and does not exit the property alive. At 2:53 a.m., the accused meets Mr. O'Keefe, telling him to meet him at the corner in 10 minutes. At 3:03, Mr. O'Keefe goes to the corner to meet the accused but leaves his phone at home. Whilst he's waiting at the corner, his phone's at home ringing 5 times because the accused is calling him, calls which obviously go unanswered. Hold on, guys. God, it's interruption central today, huh? Central. Sorry about that. All right. So he's saying while he's waiting at the corner, his phone at home ringing 5 times because the accused is calling him, calls which obviously go unanswered. When the accused doesn't arrive, Mr. O'Keefe returns home. Meanwhile, the Crown says the accused puts the body of Hannah McGuire in the rear footwell of her own vehicle that was parked at the back of the property of King Drive. This triggers an alarm on the home security system at 3:19, we say, a record we say the accused will later delete. With Hannah McGuire's body in the rear of the Triton, he gets in the front seat, drives that car around to Mr. O'Keefe's home. Sorry, they're saying drives around to the meeting point, drives that car around to meet with Mr. O'Keefe. When Mr. O'Keefe gets there, sorry, when the accused gets there, Mr. O'Keefe has already gone home, so the accused drives around to Mr. O'Keefe's house. When he gets there, he honks. Having seen the missed calls and hearing the honk, Mr. O'Keefe then goes out to the front to meet with the accused, and he sees the accused in the orange Triton. The deceased body is out of view. Mr. O'Keefe's partner, Amber, will tell you that she had security cameras also and that she zoomed in on the cameras and saw Lachlan Young in the Triton. The accused asks Mr. O'Keefe, "Where should I take this car?" O'Keefe tells him he doesn't know, and the accused says, "Well, follow me." Again, Mr. O'Keefe leaves his phone at home, and in the convoy of vehicles, the Triton and Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, they drive out of the town towards the Scarsdale area, some distance away. The accused also left his phone at home but has possession of Hannah's phone. And on the drive out to the eventual resting place, Lachlan uses Hannah's mobile phone to send himself a message to his phone back at home saying, "I'm not coming." So basically implying that she wasn't with him. As the accused reaches Victoria Road off State Forest Road, he stops the Triton and speaks to Mr. O'Keefe through the window. He asks Mr. O'Keefe if he should torch or dump the car. O'Keefe tells him to dump it because it could start a bushfire. Benjamin O'Keefe then watches as the accused drives the car at slow speed into some trees before getting out of the Triton. The accused tells him to turn the car around, and as he did that, Mr. O'Keefe says he looks in the rearview mirror and he sees the accused taking a yellow blowtorch to the front seat of that car. He'll give evidence they expect that he held the blowtorch there for a few minutes. He goes to Mr. O'Keefe's car and tells him just to wait for it to light up. And then he gives him some cash that they hadn't discussed any money prior to that point. And as the vehicle was engulfed in flames, Benjamin and the accused drive away from the area, traveling all the way back from where they came. Shortly into that drive, the accused will ask Mr. O'Keefe to just pull over, and as he does, he then starts using Hannah's phone to send some texts. And the first text was to Hannah's mother, Debbie, purporting to be from her daughter, purporting to be a S-word text. And that text reads, "I'm sorry, Mum. I thought this was the right decision. I tried to heal and cope with it all, but I'm not okay. I thought leaving was the best decision. I tried to reconnect with people and I tried sleeping with someone else to try and help me move on, but I couldn't do it. I've tried messaging Locke. He doesn't want anything to do with me now. And I've sent him a message. Please check on him. This is going to break his heart. Her mother, a light sleeper, received the message and replied to her daughter, sending 4 separate messages. A further text sent from the accused purporting to be Hannah read, I tried to go back, but he doesn't want anything to do with me. I've made the wrong choice. I've thrown everything away. Concerned, Hannah's mum tries to reach her daughter, and at 3:34 p.m. to 3:44 a.m., the accused, again in possession of Hannah's phone, sends himself a purported S-word text reading, I'm sorry, Locke. Please look after the house and the dogs for the rest of your life. I love and miss you dearly. I'm sorry this all went down this way. I wish there was a way of fixing it. Goodbye, Locke. The accused man then logs into the Commonwealth Bank app on Hannah's phone and transfers $2,000 to her mother and $5,000 to himself from the account. Having sent those text messages, the accused and Mr. O'Keefe continue on their way back to their homes, and at 5:53 a.m., Mr. O'Keefe drops the accused back at his own home, and Mr. O'Keefe returns to his home. And as Mr. O'Keefe goes inside, he deletes the CCTV footage from his own home system. Meanwhile, not being able to reach her daughter, Debbie leaves her house, travels to her daughter's, arriving at the accused doorstep at 4:48 a.m. The accused opens the door, but not before calling his own mother to come down. He tells Debbie that he doesn't know where Hannah is and that she is not at this house. He told Debbie that the deceased had called him last night and that he told her he didn't want her coming over, and then feigned surprise at a text message on his phone purporting to be from the deceased, but was instead, of course, the message he had sent himself. He said, "Oh, she has messaged me," and also feigned surprise at the bank transfer into his own account. He then tried to call friends of Hannah's, and meanwhile, of course, Hannah McGuire's body is in the Mitsubishi Triton out at Scarsdale. Concerned her daughter has harmed herself, Debbie calls 000 and contacts the Ballarat police for help. The accused continues to look for Miss McGuire and he tells his boss's wife that she's taken off and transferred all of her money from the joint account or the bank account. He goes to work that day and we say takes takes Miss McGuire's phone with him. Meanwhile, out at Scarsdale about 9:30, Alexander Thomas is taking his dog for a walk in the bushland area when he happens upon the burnt-out Mitsubishi Triton. He calls it into 000. Police and the CFA attend the area, and they discover human remains in the rear of the vehicle. Those remains will later be identified as Hannah McGuire. A large tree log was pushed up against one of the doors of the Triton, and arson experts were called in. The accused is officially told by police at 1:53 p.m. the deceased body has been located. He is contacted by police and asked to provide an account of his relationship with her. He attends the police station at 3:40 that day and tells them a version that the Crown will say is a bunch of lies. You will hear that account in due course. Specifically, we say that he told lies about the camera system, his movements that lead up to the death of Hannah, where he last saw Hannah, and his communications with her. At the conclusion of that account, he gives to the police. He is still in the police station when he uses his phone to Google, can you find deleted files on the cameras? Now, later that evening, Mr. O'Keefe learns of the death of Hannah. He contacts the accused and goes to his house where there are friends and family over, consoling him about the death of his girlfriend. Mr. O'Keefe confronts the accused and says, Hannah better not have been in that effing truck. The accused tells him that she was, but she was already deceased and that she was suffocated. Mr. O'Keefe leaves. It's crazy. Hey, sorry about that. You see the I'll stop for a second. I need to have a breath. There's a lot of talking, but you see here the deception, like writing those messages to the mum, purporting to be Hannah. The one thing a lot of killers don't seem to understand, it's very difficult to imitate another person. It's extremely difficult because people have their certain way of talking on the phone or the way they message someone, the way they use emojis or the way they use punctuation. It's it's not easy to replicate. It's very hard. And I'm guessing the mum may have picked up at some point that those messages probably weren't from her daughter, that they, most likely were from maybe from Lachlan. I know. Her parents, I can't imagine. Hey, puzzle pieces. Hey, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry, I can't see the chat when I'm reading these notes for you. I can't see it. Hold on. I need a drink. Hold on. So, what you've heard so far is about a young woman in a relationship that she has tried to leave. A lot of people I've heard said, "Why didn't you just leave?" She tried to. You see it here. She got intervention orders. She left the home they shared together. She told other people. She did all the things that we always ask people to do, right? We always say, leave, tell other people what's going on, contact the police. She did all that, got a solicitor, got involved with the bank and their money, trying to separate things, paid off all the bills that were owed in her name. You'll hear later on that she actually paid off all the bills and then had them disconnected for the property so that Lachlan could set them up in his own name. And that, so she tried to do all the right things that you would try to do when leaving someone. And you hear these type of desperate attempts that Lachlan had at trying to control and get her to come back into his life. And unfortunately, for at least a period of time, they worked. Even though, you know, she was so close to actually disconnecting him from her life completely. She was like this far away from actually making it happen. And it ended up with her death in a very heinous, awful way. The one thing I am glad about, I know we report on some of the worst things that you could ever talk about. Um, but I feel like if we talk about these stories, if we talk about things like what happened to Hannah, as painful as they are, might get through to some other woman out there that may, or man, but mostly women. Women outside of natural causes, like the number one death for women is DV violence. So as sad and as awful and as painful these stories are, if we talk about them, maybe it'll make someone realize that these signs are going on in someone's life. Maybe they notice the same pattern of behavior. Maybe it helps to save another young lady's life somehow. You know, I hope so, because we don't need any more Hannah McGuire stories in the world. You hear how controlling this guy was. It never sounded like a 50-50 relationship to me. What kind of person sets up security cameras in the home, but only he can control them, not her? And what kind of person, chucks a little boy tantrum when he finds out that she has a separate bank account? She should have a separate bank account. Everyone should. You don't have to have everything like joined together. It's healthy to have some things that are your own. You don't need to do that. Like it should be that way. So him chucking a hissy fit that she had a separate bank account shows the immaturity of Lachlan Young. Like the absolute, like a kid that never grew up, no respect of women, has control, anger, and drinking issues, and at his young age has now landed him in the Supreme Court with a guilty plea. So, and taken a beautiful young woman from this world, unfortunately. Lynn Jen said, wishing the best. Thank you, my friend. It's very similar, very similar. There's a few different types. They call them. There's a few different ways they word them. There's this one's an intervention order. There's apprehended violence orders, AVOs. They're basically all the same. They may hold someone to account, but not until after something has happened. They don't protect you from anything. They just hold someone accountable at some point. Like Lachlan, he is now being held accountable, but only after Hannah is gone. It didn't hold her accountable before that. I mean, didn't hold him accountable before that. So Sean said it's never your own in a marriage. No, but one, I don't think they were married. Two, I don't think it's not okay for people to have separate assets in even in a marriage. That's fine. As long as you're communicate about these things, you're clear about it, and you tell the other person what's going on, then there should be no issue in ever having your own assets or bank account or whatever. It's about communication and being telling the truth and being open with that person. You don't but I have heard that a lot of like TikTok and advice forums for young women that are in these type of relationships is always to have a separate bank account where they can sort of have a fund for when they want to leave. So that may have been something, I don't know, but that is quite a popular tactic now. Yeah, so hey Sean, good to see you. Good to see you. Hey puzzle pieces. Yeah, they don't do anything. They don't do anything. Yeah, well, it did. You're saying it set him off. It did. You hear where when this so the first one had expired, then he got a second one. She got a second one. And when he was informed of this being served on him, he basically, shot off an email to Hannah going like, "Oh, wait, what's going on?" It's because you're a violent jerk. Look at yourself. Like, if you're such a lovely guy to be around and you're such you do your part, you help her, you protect her, and you're a good guy, she doesn't need to go to the court to get an interim violence order. You know, the self-reflection here is completely missing. About the only thing this guy ever did that was good was plead guilty because it saved the family from like another 5 weeks of trial and evidence and reliving the worst part of their lives at, losing their daughter, their niece, their sister, auntie, whatever it is. It's about the only good thing that kid has ever done. Lynn Jen said restraining orders, in my opinion, are not worth. Yeah, they don't. Like I said, they may hold someone accountable later, but they don't protect anyone from the violence at all. It's a reactive thing. It doesn't actually do anything proactive. Maybe eventually, after you've been beaten 40 times, then it is proactive because they're like, hey, we have a history. Now we can arrest him. But yeah, for a long time, it doesn't do FA. Not saying they're good for court cases, great for court cases, because now you have a history of violence and you can show it to the court. But in actual physical day to day life, they don't do a lot, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. I know. She did, like I said, she did everything that you can ever ask anyone to do when they are leaving not just a relationship, but a violent relationship, an abusive relationship. She tried to do her part. She tried to be fair. She contacted a lawyer. She contacted their bankers. She contacted like all the bill companies. She told friends and family what was going on. I mean, there's nothing more we could ever ask of her. The only other thing I think we could have said is that not to go back. It's always when I don't I feel like I'm victim blaming, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, oftentimes the perpetrator draws them back in somehow, and that's eventually when they meet, these violent ends. And I think, you know, from what I've read throughout the court documents and the friends talking and stuff like that, Hannah was just very loyal to people and was extremely kind. And I think Lachlan played on that because he knew that's what she was like. And it was part of his control tactics on her. And that's why she ended up being back at that property the night she was killed. So, well, half that house is hers. Half that property is Hannah's. They went into it 50-50, so she deserves half that house if they split up, you know. And he took her keys. And then when he asked for the canopy back off her car, he took an angle grinder out and cut the canopy off with an angle grinder. You know, to show how macho he is, right? Oh, look, big fire and sparks, and I'll just cut it off. Good work. You proved to the world not how much of a man you are, but how much of a loser you are. Like the fact that you scared her family, you scared Hannah, all to look tough in front of your mates. I don't know what was going on in this kid's life, but he seemed to have a bunch of bad, not explaining away his offending, but he seemed to have a bunch of real stupid people in his life. A bunch of stupid people who influenced some of his behavior and the way he acted. You hear what he was like in front of his friends. The other thing I never liked, when they bought this property, it was so close to his parents' house. For someone who's so controlling and so abusive, why do you need then the backup of your family to corner Hannah in any dispute that you have? That's why Hannah didn't want to buy that property. And I can imagine like that's why. Is because every time you guys get into a fight, his family can just walk 3 houses down the road and then you're outnumbered instantly. It just seems like a circle of abuse. It really does. Hey RX girl, how are you? So you're here all night? Hey Carlisa, how are you? Angle grinder, yeah. So a very, very sad case, right? And then you hear of Mr. O'Keefe, who must have known how complicit his offending is. I'm surprised he wasn't charged with any offense. He's very lucky that he's a free man today. Very lucky. And I think it's only because the Crown wanted his cooperation for their case. If that was anything different, they may have been co-accused because he's complicit in the offending. While he may not have known Hannah was in that car, he did know prior knowledge of a threat to Hannah. You know, the car, the rehypnol, the making it look like an S word. So he had prior knowledge. He can't go out there and then say, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know anything." Well, no, you did, because the accused explained his plan to you. Some things changed because he killed Hannah in the home and then disposed of her body in the car. But you knew that there was a threat to Hannah's life. So, I mean, if you ask me, you are a very lucky man to be walking around free right now. I would I would look at your ways in life and who you're hanging around with and listen to that girlfriend of yours if you're still with her and listen to her when she calls you an effing idiot because she's right. And maybe look at your own behavior because yeah, you that guy, while not directly responsible for Hannah's death, did help inflict more pain on the family with something he could have. I'm not saying he could have stopped Hannah from being killed, but he could have alerted someone. He could have told the police what he heard. He could have told Hannah's family what he heard. Him and his girlfriend could have gone and, done any number of things to help try and save Hannah's life, but neither of them did. Um, I'm not saying they're responsible for Hannah's death, but I'm saying I also think they didn't do the right thing. That they preferred to cover for a guy that they must have known by this point was abusive towards her. We have multi-million dollar ad campaigns in Australia about stand up, do the right thing, protect women, and if you see something, call it out. Well, they're not working, are they? Because here we are, a prime example of where someone could have stood up and helped save maybe Hannah's life, and they just wilted under the power of this thing. Why is this guy so scary? Like, why does he have control over you too? You can always single out him and make him the bad person, not Hannah, right? You don't always have to be bros before, you know, the saying. You don't always have to be like that. Sometimes it can just be, hey, let's be a good person. And something's not right here. There's a threat of death. It's not a threat of like, I'm gonna break up with that biatch. No, he was threatening to kill her. And you were just like, yes, I will meet up with you at 1 a.m. in the morning. That sounds like a good idea. It's shocking to me. Right, exactly. Chipmunk says RX because who's this? Who's going on? Yeah, I know. What is the saying? Nothing good happens after midnight, right? Nothing good happens after midnight. Certainly not after you've been told about a plan to rehypnol a partner and then put her in a car in a disguised S word attempt. I don't know, man. Exactly. So he already knew of the plan. Why else would they need to get rid of the car? Exactly. Are you sure? Are you sure? Wouldn't be a night without you doing that. Texan said, that's what my granny always said. Nothing good happens after midnight. Hey, Half Irish, how are you, my friend? Good to have you guys here. So, the information you're hearing tonight is straight from the courtroom. I'm telling you word for word what was said in front of that jury. So, if you haven't caught up on this case, on Friday, about, what was it, 8 days into this trial, Lachlan Young, under the weight of all this evidence and all these people coming out to testify against him, finally that crushing weight broke him and he decided to change his plea to guilty. So on Friday, the court accepted that plea and he was arraigned again. Um, and the trial is over. Trial is over. Court accepted that plea. And we will now I think we're having a hearing next week. And then we'll go to sentencing. So that is what I'm bringing you sort of up to date with tonight. SP Mama said, I wish the police would do a campaign, highlight how many people have been helped by saying something, even if they have those statistics. Yeah, that would be a good campaign, right? As a sort of like secondary one to the ones that have been going on. But Lin Jen, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yes, I hope I answered your question. Hope I answered your question. Ah, come on, Adobe. Half Irish said that's a wild turn mid trial. Definitely is to have a trial get underway and then have a change in plea. So Lachlan Young at the start of this trial tried to get the prosecution to accept a manslaughter plea. So he said to the prosecution, the Crown, I will plead guilty to manslaughter, but not to murder. But the Crown was like, no, we're not going to do that. We have you, and we have all this evidence. We think we're going to win this trial. we are not accepting a lesser charge of manslaughter. And so he tried to plead to a lesser charge at the start of the trial. How old is Lachlan Young? I think he's this is he 20. Hold on. Thought he was the same age as Hannah, but yeah, he's 23. So Hannah was 23 when she died, and he's 23 now. Yes. So he's 23 right now. Hannah was 23 when she died. All right. Thanks, Lin Jen. Chipmunk said you murdered her. Own up to your own actions. Well, at least he has. He pleaded guilty, but it took 8 days of trial. And, his best mate or whatever. It's not even his best mate, really. The guy, Mr. O'Keefe, is a work friend. Like, sort of, not even a good friend, just a guy that lives around the corner. They're not like best buddies and they go on skiing holidays together and they have dinner parties with their wives or whatever. No, like they're just sort of uh, they're friends, but not like super close. So yeah, Jonna said, even the police can't protect you when you have someone like this. But her parents tried. Hannah tried to leave. Her parents tried to support her. They did not like the relationship with Lachlan and Hannah. But they felt, after my reading through the evidence, they felt after voicing their opinion to Hannah several times about the relationship with Lachlan, including that they didn't like the way Lachlan treated her, and that they had witnessed things that they would consider abuse. But they felt that every time they brought it up with Hannah, she would get upset, wouldn't reply, sort of, she would shut down the conversation with them. So they stopped bringing it up with Hannah and they would just support her with whatever she needed. So if she wanted to leave, they would help. If she was going to stay, they would try to keep an eye on her. Like, they just realized that she was an adult and they couldn't force her to do anything, but they were not supportive of her being with Lachlan. So Gail said, just for a friend, he did a massive thing for him. Yeah, it just makes no sense. Who was there to help Hannah besides her parents? Who was the one who decided to be like, hey, I could put a stop to this and I can help Hannah? Why did no one put up their hand for that and say, I'm willing to go against everything that I know to try and help her? I mean, her parents did, but who else? Who else? Well, she did. She did try, like, she did leave the home, took her things, disconnected stuff, got a solicitor. Like we said a while ago, she did everything she could have, and she did all the right things with the guidance of her parents. The thing that may have gone wrong is Lachlan manipulating her to go back to the property in secret, to keep it like discreet. So Junior said basically enabled his abuse. Seems like it. Yeah. Hey Lisa, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for being a member for 11 months. Anything you need. I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I've been on my own for 8 weeks now. I've sort of adapted. I've sort of adapted to being on my own. Aaron says probably by this stage of the relationship, Hannah was already isolated from her friends. I know she was isolated, but I do feel like her. No, well, she still did the netball with her friends, and she still did the sporting teams with people that she knew. I would say possibly like her circle was smaller and less talkative, but she seemed to have people she saw often and stuff like. I don't think she was super isolated, but not like some of the ones you hear about where the woman is trapped in the home, can't speak to anyone unless the partner agrees to it or whatever. I don't think it was quite like that. I think it was a little she had more freedom's the wrong word because she should be free, but just not like that. Oh, you hear his behavior. Let me see if I got another example for you. Geez, I wish that wasn't so bright. Here. So, by the way, if you know Hannah, this would be a time to turn off. Yeah, I'm gonna read you this bit here. Lachlan lied about his movements and his contact with Hannah. He denies being involved in the death of Hannah at all and categorically stated, I would never effing harm that girl. The Crown says the remains of Hannah were transported to the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, where they were subject to an autopsy by Dr. Joanna Glengarry, who we're going to hear from as well. The examination of the remains revealed that Hannah was 120 centimeters tall, or the remains were 120 centimeters in length. They weighed just 13 kilograms after the fire, and the body of Hannah McGuire had suffered severe thermal effect. There was not soot in her airways. Dr. Glengarry was unable to come to a conclusion because of the state of her remains about the cause of death. Routine toxicology testing for drugs and poisons in her system revealed nothing other than paracetamol. Dr. Glengarry ultimately concludes that it's possible for injury to cause a death without trauma, skeletal trauma, and further that toxicology results that she has in the case allow her to say, combined with the fact that there was no soot in the airways, allow her to say that the deceased was dead before the fire had started. Turning turning briefly to police investigations, arson chemist Laura Noonan attended the scene at Scarsdale on the 5th of April and conducted a fire examination. She discovered, and you will see the evidence of, well, we won't, the jury will, or the jury did, of the Mitsubishi Triton suffering significant damage with most of the combustible materials on the vehicle consumed by fire. She will tell you that the examination revealed that the fire pattern establishes that the fire commenced in the front compartment of the vehicle, likely the front seats. Like we told you with that, he burnt the front seats to set the car alight. So there you go. They will tell you that the body of the deceased was located in the rear footwell of the car, and that the body of Hannah was on the left side, facing the rear of the vehicle. Her remains had suffered significant fire damage with bones and external organs exposed, and that the pattern of burning indicated that she had been in the position for the duration of the fire and that she had not moved. So he used that blowtorch to set that car on fire. Yeah, I think there was a bunch of people who tried, but maybe didn't know enough, or like her work tried. They were like, we're gonna lock the doors so he can't get in here, and we're gonna hide your car so he can't tell if you're here or not. I think that was really a great idea. I don't know. I don't carry a knife. I've got no idea. Thavi said, no, going to the police does not help. They don't do anything until it's too late. All right. Hold on. One sec. All right. Let's see what else we have on this opening statement that I can tell you. Oh, I think we got to the end of it. I think we got to the end of that opening thing. Yeah, that was it. That was the end of it. So we read about that. We read about the toxicology. Yeah, I think we read about just about all of it. Yep. All right. That was the opening statement. Very long opening statement. Took me like almost an hour and 51 minutes or something to read. But that is your opening statement from that. It really details what the Crown expected their entire trial to be based off and the kind of themes and evidence that they were going to actually hear at this trial. Luckily for everyone, they're not going to have to hear that anymore. They're only going to have to go to the sentencing, which hopefully the family will be able to do, like say what they want to say in relation to what Lachlan has done to their lives, like a statement to the court. I think that would be good. Iris Girl said, came in later. You're going to this one too. So my plan was to have last week off. So the last week that just went, I was going to have last week off and then uh, finish up Aaron Patterson and then head to this trial on Monday. But because their plea got taken on Friday, a change of plea to guilty, the trial ended. So we can't go to it because there is going to be no more trial on Monday. It's over. So the trial finished on Friday. So this was going to be the next one we are going to cover. But I mean, I'm happy for that. I'm happy that there is I'd rather have a guilty plea 100 times out of 100 for a case like this. Um, yeah. Half Irish said next step is sentencing. Yeah, we have a hearing next week. I'm not 100% sure what that's going to entail. I will be at that hearing, and I will, if I'm allowed to legally, I'll bring you an update next week on it, and then we'll have a sentencing hearing sometime in the future. Could be August, could be September. We don't know yet, so we'll see. And then we have Erin Patterson and her sentencing. That'll be sometime late in the year, September, October, November, something like that. So yeah. So happy to bring you some of this. If there's any more you want to know, let me know. But here, let me just double check something. I wanted to see if I had some from her dad. Because when I was reading through all the evidence last night, you hear from her parents and you hear like how much they tried. Let me see if I can find like an example for you. Is that her dad? Okay, no, not that one. Yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to look through these notes. No, that's not the right one. Ah, so I do have some from her mum, and her mum, yeah, they say, Mrs. McGuire, were you supportive of Hannah's relationship with Lachlan Young? She says, no, I wasn't. Were there any noticeable differences in Hannah when she moved in with Lachlan into his parents' house? And Hannah's mum says, there was. Within a few months of being with Lachlan, she had just stopped caring about her appearance. Yeah, she said she'd kind of stopped caring about her appearance. So she stopped getting her hair done. She'd stopped going to the gym. She had gained some weight. She changed the way she had dressed. And they say, prior to the purchase of the house that she purchased with Lachlan, were there any conversations between you and your daughter about purchasing that home? And Hannah's mom says she came to me and her dad and for some advice in relation to purchasing a property. I think because we had some rental properties and some experience with that, she came to us and she says, I had suggested to her that it might not be a good idea to buy that particular house, that it was very close to his parents, and that she might not enjoy that. It was a fixer upper kind of house, and I didn't like the area it was in. They asked Hannah's mum, did Hannah express any concern about buying that particular house? She says she did. I think she had a bit of a think about it, about what we had said, and decided that she changed her mind on that house. They asked Hannah's mum, what was it about the house that made her not want to go through with the purchase? Hannah's mum says, I think she just wanted to be a little bit more independent as far as the proximity of how close it was to the parents. They ask Hannah's mum, was there anything that particular house that your daughter told you was important? Hannah's mum says, yeah. She said that Lockie, uh, that the house had going for it was a really big shed, and that Lockie wanted a big shed on the property, and that he was a car person, so he absolutely wanted the house because he liked the shed. They say to Hannah's mum, so you said Hannah had a bit of a think about things you were talking about. Did she speak to you about telling Mr. Young that she didn't want to purchase the house? Hannah's mum said she did. She'd said to me she was going to tell him. About not purchasing that house, they say here, I think the evidence, this is the Crown, I think the evidence is about the 16th of February 2023. They ask Hannah's mum, now, were you aware whether she did have a conversation with Mr. Young about not wanting to go through with the purchase of the property? Hannah's mum said, she did. She rang me. She was hysterical on the phone, crying. She rang me. She was really crying a lot. She said that she had told Lockie that she changed her mind about buying that particular house. Not that she didn't want to buy a house with him, but that particular house, and he just lost it. She said he lost it and started yelling and started kicking her car door in. Then he said to her, get your clothes and get the fuck out. And they say, where was she living? That's Hannah at the time. She says, Hannah's mum says, she was living with them, with Lockie and his family at the time, a few houses down from the prospective property. They say, she said that she was kicking the car, and her mum says, yep, the passenger door. They say, kicking the passenger door, are you aware of any damage that was caused to the door? Hannah's mum says, yeah, there was. It was dented. So after this, Hannah came to see them at their home. And in the evidence here, her mum says that she told Hannah, go get your things and leave that property and go home. Like, leave from that area. And they say here, did you see Hannah after that phone call? And she says, yes. Where did you see her? She came home to our house where we were living at the time. And then I took her back around to get her things, to get her clothes. They ask her if that was the same day. She says, yep. Did she stay the night at your house? Hannah's mom says, she did. And the next day, did she go to work? Hannah's mom said, she did, yep. I had suggested to her that it was probably best not to go to work just because she'd been so upset, but she cared or looked after children with disabilities. She took her work very seriously and she didn't want to miss work. They say here, after this event, were there any other communications between you and Hannah on this particular day? She says, yes. She called me after she finished work, and again, she was really, really upset, screaming down the phone that Lachlan had waited for her to finish work, and then he was following her in her car, and he was driving. He was sitting behind her, beeping his horn. Then he would come out into the oncoming traffic beside her, trying to get her attention to get her to pull over. What, if anything, did you tell Hannah to do? I told her to lock her doors, to not pull over and drive towards the police station. They say here, did you or your husband put this phone call on speakerphone? She says, it started on speakerphone, and then at some point, I told my husband to call 000, and I was kind of relaying information to him on where Hannah was. They ask Hannah's mum, did you remain on the phone with Hannah? She says, I did. There could have been a point in time where I put my husband on, but yeah, I stayed on the phone with her. So this is you're seeing this behavior of Lachlan when he doesn't get his way in the relationship to the point where, you know, he's going to her work, waiting for her to finish work, and then tries to drive her off the road in the middle of traffic with cars and is beeping at her, pressurizing her, stressing her out, and while they're trying to drive vehicles, it's insane. Yeah, he's very immature, extremely immature. Even for 22, 21, 23, whatever he was when he was with Hannah, extremely immature, like a 9-year old, literally. Has never grown up. He's not even close to being a grown up. Half Irish said, I guess the lesson would be know where all the local police stations are. True. I'm older than Ping and ask tough guys how to manage situations. That's where I'm at now. Half Irish said he'd have known her schedule. He would from living with her. Yeah, seems like he cracked because that's what he wanted. He wanted to live close to his parents and he wanted the house with the shed. And you can see Hannah's opinion made no difference. Whatever she wanted, that didn't matter. That was not something that was considered. It was just whatever Lachlan wanted. So he wanted that house, so he pressured and convinced Hannah to purchase that property with him because that's what he wanted, not what she wanted. She wanted to live further away from his parents because after spending time in their home, living with Lachlan, she obviously wanted to be not having their influence if she was going to live with him in a relationship. She didn't want his parents interfering, playing referee, always siding with their son, all that type of stuff. So I don't know. I don't think I have anything from his parents. Not sure. Yeah, let me go further down in the mum's evidence. Yeah. They say to Hannah's mum, so going back to the text messaging, you were saying that he was asking Hannah to come and collect her property and he wanted the canopy back. So we've jumped forward in time a little bit. This is about the canopy on the car. And he says here, so they ask the mum, so going back to the text messaging, you were saying that he was asking Hannah to come and collect her property and then he wanted the canopy back. Is that right? Hannah's mum says yes. And he kept messaging her about it over and over again. and she kept telling him that it wasn't a convenient time, she was busy. They say, okay, did Hannah become aware at some point that her stuff was being moved outside? Hannah's mum says yes. So when she'd said to him that she was busy and it wasn't a convenient time, he said, well, I'm going to put your stuff outside. And we again looked at the cameras and he did put her stuff outside. He then had a male there with him who started rummaging through Hannah's belongings. So Hannah messaged him and said, like, tell him to stop going through my stuff. And then he picked up all of her stuff up and he put it inside the shed where she couldn't see it. They asked Hannah's mum, at some point, did Hannah agree to go and organize this or collect the property? Hannah's mum says, yeah, it got to about 8:30 at night, and I could see that just from his continual text messaging, it was wearing Hannah down, and she was looking really upset. And in the end, I just gave in. I said, let's just go and get it. Let's just go and get your stuff. They ask her, did you do that? She says, we did. We drove in and we reversed into the driveway purposely so that we could get the stuff and get out quickly. They said, did you arrive around 9:15 p.m.? Her mom says, yes. You said you arrived, then you reversed in the driveway. What happened after you reversed into the driveway? She says, when we first reversed into the garage door, the big shed door was closed. And as soon as we pulled in and got out of the car, Lockie opened the garage door and he and three men and his sister came out. They said, so this is the front of the property, that's the garage door. They're showing a photo here, which I don't have to show you right now. They saying, did you make any observations about Mr. Young and his state of sobriety? Hannah's mum says he was intoxicated and he was still drinking when we got there. They say, and she continues and says, at one point, he yelled to his sister, get me another beer. The Crown asks, after you arrived, what happened with the canopy? She says, while we were putting stuff in the car from the shed, Lockie got an angle grinder and just started to angle grinding the canopy off the back of the ute and pulled wires out from under the bonnet of the car. They say, when you say he got an angle grinder out, what was his demeanor like? He was scary, he was furious, he was yelling. They ask her, was he able to remove the canopy easily? She says, I wouldn't say he removed it easily, but with the help of his mum, she says his mum came over at some point. With the help of all the people he had there, they pulled it off. They ask her, you said he cut wires or pulled wires out from under the bonnet. She says, yep. They ask her, did he fix that as well? She says, a little bit. I think we tried. When we tried to leave, we couldn't start the car. So he got back under and did something so that we could start the car and leave. They said, did it require further work later on to fix it when you got, they said, okay, they're asking her to continue. And she says, but it did require further work later on to fix it. So these wires he pulled out when removing the canopy damaged the vehicle so much that the car needed further work later on to make it better. They're saying here, when you got back in the car, who was driving? She says, Hannah. They said, did Lachlan approach her at all? She says, yep. So when we got in the car, he leant over and said, are you going to give me a hug goodbye? And he just kept saying it. And he had Hannah kind of between the steering wheel and him. He had her kind of pinned back in the chair. So she just put one hand around him, patted him on the back, and then we left. So again, you see the pressurization of him. Like, give me a hug. Why do you want a hug from someone who just cut your car with an angle grinder and has been threatening you all afternoon? What kind of sick person is this? it's crazy the stuff. She tried to calm him. I don't know. I think she just wanted to get out of there. And being that he had her pinned in the vehicle between the steering wheel and the seat, she couldn't drive with him in that position. So she did it so he would leave and she could drive the car. So they're asking her mom about a canvas, and she says, I seen he'd sent a Snapchat that he was going to burn or was burning a canvas. They had a canvas print of the two of them in the home, and he set it on fire outside. They said, do you know the whereabouts outside? She says, I think it was up on the concrete area somewhere. They had a bit of a drum, a fire drum, where they burnt things. They're saying here, moving to the 3rd of April, were you aware that Mr. Young was again messaging Hannah, asking her to collect more property? And her mom says, yes, he was. He just started messaging again and asking her to come back and get more property. And I'd said to her, don't go back. It wasn't safe. They say, were you aware that Hannah had applied for an intervention order? Hannah's mom says, yes, I was. They say, were you aware that she had yet to be, that it had yet to, were you aware whether it was were you aware whether that had yet been served on Mr. Young? Hannah's mom says, I don't know that that it had been. Okay. So they're saying they're going to move to the 4th of April. Did you have contact with Hannah early that day? Hannah's mom says, I did. We spoke about what she was going to do that day. She said she was going to go to netball training, so she'd work and then come drive out to training. They said the Crown is asking her mum, did she show up to the National Hotel in Clunes at some point this evening on that day? Her mum says she went to training and then went to the National Hotel on Thursday nights. We do a Palmer night, and the majority of the footballers and netballers come over and participate in that, and that she had come over with all of them, and a group of her and netballers sat at a particular table in the dining area. The Crown asked, they were having conversations. Her mum says, yep, the netballers do this thing every Thursday when they come over. They all go around the table and they talk about their highlights and lowlights for the week. The Crown asks, did Hannah participate in that? Her mum says she did participate in that. The Crown asks, did Hannah tell you when she was leaving the pub where she was going? She says she did. She said that her friend and her work colleague Jamie was going overseas and that she was going to go stay with Jamie before she went away. And that's the same night that her mum got those text messages later that same night about, oh, mom, I've made the wrong decision. And, Lachlan doesn't want me back and that type of thing. You heard nipple, not nipple, netball. You guys don't know what netball is? Maybe you don't have it in America. Not nipple. I don't think there's any nipple training that you can do. Nipple training. You weirdos. You guys can go do your nipple training. Netball training. Yeah, netball. There you go. This is netball. I don't play it. I can't tell you if there's any nipples involved. There might be. Um, Women tend to play it, so there may be some nipples involved in the sport. All right, hold on. All right, you weird nipple people. Um, yeah, so that was the same night. When she's talking about that she went to the training, later that night, she starts getting those messages and like, "I'm sorry, mom. I thought this was the right decision. I tried to heal and cope with it all, but I'm not okay. I thought leaving was the best decision. I tried to reconnect with people. I tried sleeping with someone else to try and help me move on, but I couldn't do it." Why would a daughter write to her mum about sleeping with someone else? That is such a vengeful boyfriend thing to do, to be like, "Oh, that bitch is like sleeping with someone else." Like, why would you include that in an S word message to your mum? Like that should have clued her mum on straight away that it wasn't her. Like I can't imagine a young female girl telling her mum that, yeah, I definitely slept around to try and get over Lachlan. Like it just sounds ridiculous. Here, I just want to see if she ever picked up on. So apparently her mum replied to this message, "What? Where are you? You're not making sense. You're not going back to him." And then she says she got a reply that said, "I tried to go back, but he doesn't want anything to do with me. I've made the wrong choice. I've thrown everything away." And then apparently her mum responded with, "What the F?" Because her mum knew it wasn't her. Her mum said it didn't make any sense to her because it's not what her daughter would write. And then she wrote a message saying, "Hannah, answer me or I'm getting in the car and I'm coming to find you. Hannah, we need to answer you need to answer my phone calls. Where are you? I'm coming to find you. You're at Lockie's, aren't you?" And then apparently she sent a message saying, "You can't live the way you were living, being spoken to like shit, treated like crap. Remember why you left in the first place. You were doing fine without him. In fact, I've never seen you look happier." And apparently those were the messages her mum sent in response. And then her mum says, "I'm on my way in. Where are you so we can talk properly? Hannah, I'm at Lockie's. Where are you? I've called the police. I'm heading to the police station now. Please don't do anything silly. We will come and find you. Don't throw away your life and everything you've worked hard for Lockie." And then the next one is, "Please, Hannah, call me." And then later in the morning, she writes again, "Please, Hannah, you're scaring me. Police are out looking for you. Please make contact with me. I'm begging you. Come home to mum, Hannah. I love you." And then, yeah, they're the messages she tried to send back to her daughter, which wasn't her daughter. It was Lachlan writing on Hannah's phone. So, you can hear the angst and the desperateness of her mum to find out what the hell's going on because none of it made any sense to her. I'm just trying to see if we have another bit. Yeah. So in cross examination by the defense, they ask her, "Miss McGuire, when you were first introduced to Mr. Young, you immediately formed a negative view of him, agreed?" Miss McGuire's Hannah's mum says, "Correct. You told police that you formed a view of him within 10 seconds. Is that correct?" She says, "Correct." "Were you truthful when you said that to the police?" Hannah's mum says, "Yes." "Unlike previous partners of your daughter, Mr. Young was not well educated, agreed?" She says, "Correct." Your daughter, you said, of course, studying to be a teacher. Meanwhile, Mr. Young worked as a tradesman. Is that right?" She says, "Yes." "You knew he dropped out of school, did you, at year 7?" Hannah's mum says, "Yes." So you knew he had little by the way of formal education, agreed? She says, yes. When she moved into the home, so that is Lachlan's family's home, do you accept that you had less contact with Hannah at the time? Hannah's mum says it was a little bit less at the time. So contact diminished after a period of time, is that right? She says a little bit, yeah. So there you go. Some first impressions from the mum about what she thought about this young man. The defense trying to paint it as if because he's uneducated and a tradie that they were looking down on him. I don't think so. I just think they saw a guy who wasn't a good fit for their daughter and was emotionally immature. So I don't know about him, but the other guy did. We read about that last night. Jo Neal said she was dating trash. Sounds like some of her previous partners were quite well educated and quite different types of people. Aaron says, Mother knew best, read this guy. She did, right? Texas wrote on and said, I hope he gets all he deserves in prison. We will be there for sentencing. So just like Aaron Patterson, I will give you the sentencing for this for Lachlan Young. Like as it happens again, you'll get it first here on Nights with Ping on the day of sentencing. I will be at that court. SP Mama said, I used my husband's account to message my son, and he says, yes, Mom. How did he know? He said, I have a specific way of texting, not dad. Yeah, I'm betting the mum picked up like instantly that it wasn't Hannah. Yep, the mum did knew. She was already dead at this point, yes. At the point of those text messages, she was already dead. That car was already on fire. Those text messages were sent after they set the car on fire, a couple of hours after Hannah was already dead, while they were driving back from setting fire to the car with Hannah inside of it. Hey, Moonlight View, how are you? I don't know what he'll get. Francesca said he will suffer in prison. I hope he I hope he thinks about Hannah and what he did every single moment for the rest of his life in prison and it torments him for the rest of his life. I hope so because that girl did not deserve what happened to her and did not deserve to be treated like that by anyone, yet alone the one person outside of her, maternal and paternal family that's supposed to be like her love of her life, and you treat her like absolute dirt. Like he treated her less than throughout their entire relationship. You hear the evidence of it. He is an absolute scumbag. Absolute scumbag. Hope so. We'll see. We'll see what the judge gives him in a sentence. All right, let me have a look here. All right. All right. No, not for a DV crime. Not in Victoria. He'll do 25 to life. He'll do 25 to life. He's not going to get. I. The only way I could see him getting less than that is if for some reason the court and the judge think that there's some hope of rehabilitation here. I hope the impact statements from the family persuade it to go the other way because you have to ask yourself if someone can do this in this way for this extended period of time to a young woman like that, who's to say if he ever got out of prison and got into a relationship again, that he wouldn't just do this all over again. Who's to say that he could ever change that behavior? What would he have what could he show the court right now, like during sentencing, that could give them any hope that he could ever change that pattern of behavior? I think that's almost an impossible hill to climb. Like, you can't. So, why would you put any other female in the next 20 to 35 years at risk in Australia? Why would you do that? I bet you do. I bet you do. I don't think so. I think he deserves to go to prison. Francesca said to do this at this age, he would do it again. Right. I agree. Half Irish says, yep, he'll do it to the same girlfriend 25 years from now. It has happened more than once. More than once, people have done time, come out, been okay for like a few months. Something's ticked them off, and they've killed the current girlfriend or whatever, or re-offended against children. It just, yeah, we've got enough proof and evidence that it keeps happening over and over, that there needs to be safeguards placed on the community. There really does. Because because he's been charged, now pleaded guilty to a capital offense, so murder in this particular case, he will automatically go into protected custody. It's just what they do. So he'll automatically, probably from yesterday, be in protective custody. So they anyone facing life in prison automatically gets protective custody. I don't think so. I'm not sure what they do. I don't think they make license plates, so at least I don't think so. I've not heard them. I know in America they do that, but I've not heard it here. They do work. I just don't know what they do. I know they make blankets. So I know in one prison, I think it's for females though, that they make blankets for babies at the hospital and stuff like that. I just don't know if the men do it. Anna says, I think he deserves a nice beef Wellington made by a special person. A new special pen pal? Maybe. Maybe. They'll send it through the mail system. Thavi said here they get put in solitary protective custody. Yeah, he'll be on some sort of protective custody. Anyone charged with like a capital murder offense will get put on a special arrangement for a period of time. It's so they understand that most likely they're going to spend multiple decades behind bars, and it takes a while for that reality to sink in, and they don't want them, doing stuff. Aaron Patterson, a guest chef at his prison. Maybe intertransfer between the men and female prison. Maybe. All right. There is your update. So, what happened after we heard this evidence? Well, on Friday, when court opened for the day, we were told that there was a change in plea. That plea was then heard. He was what they call arraigned. So he got arraigned again, asked for his plea. He pled guilty, and then the jury were discharged, and the trial is over. They set a date for next week. That'll be a hearing, probably to set a date for pre-sentence or sentencing. We'll see. I'm not sure which one it is, and we'll go from there. I don't think they're allowed to do them. I think Australian law doesn't allow people to do interviews from prison, unlike in America where you see Laurie Vallow in Phoenix doing prisons interviews. I don't think they're allowed to do that here. I've not ever seen that here. Celebrity chef. Celebrity death chef, yeah. Gayla says, "What's the accommodation like at the men's prison?" Very similar to the female one. Very similar. So if you've seen the female one, here I'll show you. Melbourne. Yeah. Let's see if I can find you one. So it depends what one they're in. Sorry, squeaky chair, back at it again. So it depends what type of prison he goes to and what kind of cell he gets. But here's one type where you have the bunk beds and a sink and a table. But there's others that there's several different types that you can get. So it just depends where you go and what prison he gets put in. There you go. There's another type. So yeah. There's other ones that look like the one that Erin's in, where it looks like a little unit, and they have like a kitchen and like a living area, and then the cells. So I think it's like four of them in one place, but they have like a communal area. There's those ones. It just depends. It looks like student accommodation. It sort of does. Interesting. Hugney said Valo can do interviews in Arizona, but not in Idaho. Interesting. I believe some do. I believe some do. Yeah, like the students. Interesting. It sort of does look like a student accommodation. A little bit. Apparently, she's been working in the kitchen in Robbie. Apparently, before she went to trial, she worked as a, I don't know what she did, but she worked in the kitchen of the prison. So yeah, kind of like dorms. Yeah. Yep. It sort of does look like a dorm room, doesn't it? I was trying to find another example for you. What's the what's the main prison for men? I think it's Ravenshall. I think it is Ravenhall. I think that's the big men's one. Yeah. I was just trying to find an internal view of it. So it just depends which one you're in. It really does. But here's the overview of it. I think we've looked at it on the map before. But there you go. There's the giant prison in Melbourne, and then they have a female one, which is where Erin Patterson is located, on the other side. So here, prison. I was trying to find a view of the cells, but yeah, like they just depend. Here's another one. There's another cell, and you can see a TV, and there's the bed. So I think it just depends which one you're in. And then they have ones that look like a little unit, but yeah, just depends. There you go. All right. Pastry chef. Maybe she'll be on Iron Chef, and they're like, our theme tonight is mushrooms. And they'll be like, we have a visiting Iron Chef from Australia, Erin Patterson. Your son had that TV 20 years ago? Sean said, I've been to many prisons, even in Fiji, as a guest of the governor. Yep. Yeah, I think so, probably. Dali probably is still laughing about it. Sorry, but I think it's funny. I think that it's funny as if Aaron working in the kitchen, the person that did that has an evil sense of humor. That is true. She's doing okay. Hopefully she'll be out of hospital either tomorrow or Monday. She'll be the first and only taste tester. Yeah. The rule on Iron Chef is you have to taste it first before they do. Da, da, da. Hey, by the way, Sean, I want to thank you for your donation. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The people who help support this channel with the links under the video and in the chat, they're the reason that I can devote so much time to doing these Supreme Court cases, Supreme Court cases, and bringing you all the exclusive information and documents that you hear on this channel. It's that funding that allows me to do it, you know, Monday to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every week that you guys get the most detailed coverage here. Uh, there's no one else that does it in like out of Victoria. So hey, all right, let's wrap up. We've been on for ages. Hey, I love you all. I hope you have a good night. What are we going to do tomorrow? I think tomorrow we might do some USA true crime. So tomorrow night, USA true crime. I haven't done any USA true crime in a while. It'd be nice to do something that isn't Australian. So I think tomorrow that's what we might do. And I will be on it. I'll be on at midnight again. We're hoping to move back to midnight permanently, and no more 7 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning shows. Like, I don't think that'll be a reality unless we head back to a trial. If we head back to a trial, that may become a reality again. But the hope is that we don't have to. So let's hope we don't have to. All right. Have a good night out there. I appreciate it, Rachel. You are welcome. I hope you got all the information you could handle about Hannah McGuire and about her perpetrator, Lachlan Young. So hope that was more in depth than you could ever know or wanted to know on this particular one. You are welcome. You are welcome. What time for you, Ping? So about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock every day in the afternoon, depending what time the other show finishes. Justice for Hannah. I agree. Justice for Hannah. Let's stop bending to the perpetrators and start protecting the victims. Too long, we've been sort of soft on offending, and it's almost insulting to the victims. They're the ones who are not here to defend themselves any longer. So let's do it for them. Why should the person who took their life get more afforded more things than the person who lost their life ever had? I never understood that. The person who lost their life should be the ultimate, tier here. The person who offended should be the lowest on the rank, not the highest. That should be the victim. The victim should be the one at the top, and they're the ones we should be respecting and fighting for, not the perpetrator. So I hope so. I hope we see justice for Hannah, and I hope any women or young ladies out there, you should listen to Hannah's story and listen to what she went through. And if you are experiencing even a tiny bit of what you hear in her story, then you should seek out some help. Tell a friend, call a hotline, talk to the police, and never go back. Never ever go back. Once you leave, once you make the decision, you stay. You don't ever go back. You just trust your gut, know you left for a good reason, and just never go back. All right. I love you all. Good night, everyone. Bye.